In this video, I'm going to show you how to create a section view. So the first thing you need to do is click on the View tab, and we are in the floor level of floor plan. And I'm going to have you click the section button here, and we're going to do a section of this part of the wall, just a typical wall section. So click once on the left, and then click a second time on the right. It's not a very big section here, and I'm actually going to drag this piece. I'm going to flip it so that it's looking in towards the wall this way. And now what that has done is created a section down here. So I'm going to right click, rename that wall section. It's important that you always name the views that you create. And now I'm going to open up that wall section. So what I have here is I have a view of the wall section, and depending on which section you chose and which orientation it is, the roof might be slanting the other direction. Really doesn't matter all that much for what we're trying to do. So I'm going to click on this. I'm going to drag it out a little bit so I have more room to label, and shrink this down so I'm just focusing in on this wall section right here. So I'm dragging the mouse wheel towards me to zoom in a little bit, and what I need to do is label these components in the wall section just as they are indicated in the rubric. So your rubric is going to show you all the different components you need to have labeled. So you're going to have to refer back to that constantly to get them in here. So I'm going to show you how it is that you actually label that now. So right now, all we see if we zoom way in is just a really thick line. And that's neat and everything, but it doesn't really show us what's inside this wall. So if you choose this option down here and we choose Fine Detail, now it's showing us all of these wall section lines in here, all the different partitions. But the lines are too thick. So again, in the View tab, if you choose Thin Lines, now we can actually see the different sections in here. To make this even more clear, I'm going to choose this option down here and choose Realistic. And now it actually shows me the different colors. You can even see the roof shingles in here, and you can see the sheathing, the 2x4s going up, the drywall, the 2x4s, the sheathing, and then the siding. So we need to make sure that we can see all of those things. So what we're going to want to insert next is insulation. So if you click over to the Annotate tab, you can choose insulation. So I've chosen insulation. It should be 3.5 inches wide, and right now it says to center. So you'll notice that the offset is currently 0, and it's not quite in the middle of this stud. So that's because I have a 1/2 inch sheathing on here. So to slide it this direction and center that, I need to cut that 1/2 inch sheathing offset in half, which actually makes that a 1/4 inch. So go ahead and use that option here. And I'm going to click here, and it's going to offset, you can see, to the right a little bit, so it centers it in that stud. So I'm zooming out, and I'm not holding the mouse button down, I'm just zooming out, and then I'm going to let it snap to the bottom here. Let me zoom into there so you can see. Now if I click and hold the mouse wheel, and then I can drag it, it's easier to move that around. So I click down to here, and now I have my insulation. So I'm just going to click Modify, and that sort of fills that wall cavity with insulation, which is exactly what I want. So the next thing that we need to do is annotate this. So click the Text button. I'm still in the Annotate tab, and I'm going to just choose No Leader for right now, and go ahead and click inside this box. Now it's likely that your text is going to be giant, and that's okay for right now. We're going to label the siding. So I'm going to type in 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch, clapboard siding. That's the name of the siding that we used. Now go over here to Edit Type and change your text size to 1/32 of an inch. Then click Apply or OK, and that should resize it a little bit more. So now I'm just going to click somewhere off on the outside of this, and now I'm going to hit the Escape key twice, and that sort of takes me out of the whole thing here. So if you choose that writing option, now it gives you some options for creating arc leaders to point to the item that you're choosing. So again, I just clicked Escape a few times and then reselected it again. There's probably many other ways to get to this, but we choose this plus here, and now you can see we got an arrow just kind of pointing to nowhere. So I'm pulling the scroll wheel down, and I'm going to move this point here and point this directly at this siding right there. So now I have this arrow pointed directly at the siding, And I'll show you how to do one more, and then I'm going to have you finish this on your own according to what the directions in the rubric say. So I'll click text one more time, and I'm going to just choose a text box here. You can see it snaps so that they're all lined up, which is really convenient. And the next thing is 1/2 inch sheathing. And on the rubric, it may say plywood sheathing, so make sure you match what the rubric says. This is just a sample. Then I'm going to click outside of that and hit the escape key twice. Now if I select it again, it gives me options to modify that. So I'm going to add another leader. I'm going to pull the mouse wheel towards me to zoom in. Remember, you can pause and rewatch this as many times as you need to get to the point where you have an understanding of what's how to do some of these moves. I'm zooming in by pulling the mouse wheel toward me until I get right into this location right here. So right now I've placed two different components. You have many different components that you're going to need to place. You have your floor joists, you have your trusses and your asphalt shingles and insulation, all these different components. So go ahead and place all the different components that it says on the rubric, and then you should be done with your section view and your labels.